All right, everybody. So today is day one of the 180-day full stack challenge, and I know I promised. I said that I would be coming live to like basically share what I learned that day. Now I really imagined that would work. This about 11:09. It's not exactly 11 p.m. but basically since I think I'm not very sure now, but since I said I would be coming, I'll be doing the live for 30 to 60 minutes, right? So half an hour to 1 hour. So just basically, I would probably come on anytime between 11 p.m. and 12 midnight Central Time. So that hour block is when I would share what I learned. So I can come 11:15, 11:20, but it's not going to be more than that 1 hour block. And as we go, depending on what we need, we'll adjust. So today, as you already can tell, this is not live. This is pre-recorded. But that is because I forgot that when you start a new channel and you want to go live, YouTube takes 24 hours to verify your channel before they allow you to use their live feature. So when I just came, I clicked on go live and it popped up. So that's why I'm recording today's video. Also, even if I went live, I have not properly set up my this how you can set up streaming with an external streaming software, maybe to handle different screens, maybe your screen sharing, your videoing yourself, some of all those things. I've not set them up for this channel, and so even maybe tomorrow and a day after tomorrow, I would still record my learnings verbally like this, or if I decide to show you guys exactly the things, maybe show you guys code or just annotate on a screen, so it's easier for you guys to follow. But bear with me, we're like starting small. We don't want to wait for all these things to be in place before we start, right? So today basically I was doing the HTML. If you watched the video yesterday, the one that says first video, if you watched it, you see the HTML course. So that's what I'm starting with, and I think I did about more than 1 hour, but it was not up to 1.5 hours like I planned. So I already have a backlog, or what would you call it? I think backlog, yeah, something like that. Basically I'm already behind, but I would catch up. Some days when I'm super free, I'm going to maybe do more than 1.5 hours, but I will definitely catch up. The 180 days is the 180 days. We'll catch up. So today, what did I learn? Basically, he started talking about web development, introducing web development to someone who is new, but as you guys know, I'm not completely new. So basically he just distinguished between front end and back end development. Front end is basically doing the client stuff, back end is doing the server stuff. And you may be asking what that is. So client is basically your browser, what you can see when you log into a website. So if I go on, let's say I make a simple web page that I call andrew.com. When you type andrew.com on your Chrome and you click enter, it is going to send a request basically to where to a server where the site is hosted, right? And the server is going to respond with the files that, since it's just a simple web page, most likely HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. So it responds with those files, and then the browser understands those files and it would render it on the page. So he started by just talking about simply what is front end, back end, and then one other thing that I not learning for the very first time, but it was new. It was a good refreshing, is the difference between static and dynamic websites. So for instance, a static website is the web page I use as an example, andrew.com. Things don't change on that website. When you come to andrew.com on Monday, it's exactly, most likely, if it's just a simple one-page website, most likely it is almost the same thing when you come on that website on Friday. But a website let's say Udemy, or let's even use a social media platform like Facebook. It's not like that. It's dynamic. But I'll still go back to explain the difference between dynamic and static. But it's dynamic because what you see on Monday is not what you see on Friday. People have posted, people have deleted, people have edited, people have updated, just doing stuff on the website, right? So it's not always the same. That's why it's dynamic in the simplest term. But if you want to go a little bit technical, a static website, all websites are hosted somewhere, right? So a static website is when the files that make up a website, predominantly HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, are hosted on the static website, and when the request is made by the browser to that server, the server sends those files as they are. They just send the files and the browser will render it. But for a dynamic website, it doesn't just have those files hosted on the server. It also has an application that determines that accepts new info, like a new post, that updates the post when the user makes an update. It has a database by the side, so the server is talking to the back-end application and the database, and the app is running everything. The back-end application is running everything, and when you make a request, it does the logic. It does the logic thing. Okay, did somebody edit, who added, it just, and then it sends the state of the app, depending on what you are requesting, to the server, and then the server sends it to the browser, that's the client. So it just did that, and that's how I kind of understand it right now. It may not be 100% accurate, but like that's the idea. Then he now went into show us what HTML is. When you have a HTML file, it has many web developers will agree with me, like when you start, if you still like write HTML files, because I mean people still do it, but it's just like predominantly like you just use a front end library like React, or a framework like Next or React Router. So but if you write core HTML file, you would find out that there's this thing that developers don't write. They just use some kind of shortcut, and it would cook up some kind of skeletal structure for the HTML file. Then you begin to fill in stuff. But Jonas was teaching us how to even write that skeletal structure. But I know subsequently he's not going to ask us to continue doing that. He just wants to make us understand what a HTML file is. So a HTML file has two primary child elements. Sorry, let me backtrack. A HTML file has one, it's not the only one, but one main, I'll call it root element, which is called HTML actually. So there's another one called DOCTYPE, like to tell the browser the type of document, but I'll go with the HTML one. And then inside it is the head and the body. On the head is where metadata is like contained. I hope that's how to describe it, but it's basically like the title of the document, things like that. Nothing you put on the head shows in your website, so it's everything that you put on the body that shows in your website. I'm sorry, I should have been using some code to do this, but forgive me. Right now I'm recording just a video, so it's not recording my screen. But yeah, subsequently, maybe by day 4, things would have been very settled. Even the rhythm for me would have been kind of settled. So we'll be showing those when I'm making these illustrations, so it's not just very abstract. Then yeah, so when you build a simple website like that, you then open it up with your browser, and that's you just see the stuff. Everything you've written on the HTML file will be rendered by your browser, because browsers understand HTML. They also understand JavaScript and CSS. I think these are the 3 languages that they understand. Yes, and so what are these 3 languages? He also mentioned it. So HTML is the language that 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 handles the elements on the website. So every text you see, every video you see, every image you see, icon, it's HTML. CSS is what makes it beautiful. Make this text color red, make this background color blue. That's what CSS does. JavaScript adds like more a dynamic feel to the website. So it can be like, when I click this button, make this text disappear, or when I click this button, make this text animate in such a way. Do you understand? So that's what JavaScript does. It adds life to the website. CSS can do certain animations, like really good ones, but JavaScript is the one that is actually a programming language. Both HTML and CSS are not programming languages. HTML is a markup language, hence it's called Hypertext Markup Language. That's the acronym. That's what the acronym stands for. For CSS is Cascading Style Sheet. Yeah, cascading. Yeah. So you see, they are not programming languages. It's only JavaScript as a programming language. So JavaScript is more intelligent, I would say, than HTML and CSS, because it can, do logic. If this is true, I will do this. If it is not, I will do this. But I don't think HTML and CSS can do that. So yes, that's another thing we talked about. Then we also talked about semantics, like very, very, very quickly. We touched semantics, and this will be the last thing I'll talk about. And then any other updates to the challenge I would share before I leave. When it comes to semantics, like, how you can have elements on the like your HTML elements, like a header, like a H1, which is a header, like a paragraph, which is P. Oh, this stuff is seeing what I'm doing. That's cool. Then so for those elements, it has different parts. It can be broken down, right? But I would not go into that one here, because maybe it's not that important, or it will be too abstract. I think there's something I wanted to say about HTML. Yes, semantics. Yes. So there's another kind of HTML element that's called B. It makes stuff bold, but it doesn't tell the browser anything. It's just a visual stuff. You just see that this is bold, but behind the scene, the browser doesn't put any real meaning to it. But if you use the element strong, it still has the same visual effect, which is, you would see that this block of text is now bold, but beneath the scene, the browser adds a meaning to it. That's what it's called, semantics. So maybe when a screen reader is reading a website, it will be able to know that this is bold. And depending on how intelligent the screen reader is, it can maybe increase the tone or emphasis in the tone, so the browser can know, right? So that's basically what semantics is. And yes, I think I should share this one lastly before I leave. So when you see a HTML element, right, if you have seen HTML before, an element's like, let's say the paragraph element. Now it starts with the P, with the less than and greater than. It has the closing one with the less than and greater than, and it has something in the middle. So this whole thing I described is called a HTML element. The starting P is called the opening tag, the ending P is called the closing tag, and what is in the middle is called content. So I just thought maybe that's some kind of HTML registers, some technical terms that may help when I'm explaining stuff, hopefully. So that's what I learned today. It actually feels kind of good to like solidify knowledge, right? It feels good. You learn more confidently. So yes, hopefully, obviously by this time tomorrow, YouTube would have allowed me to be able to come live, but I would not still guarantee I'll come live tomorrow. I'll probably record again like this and share it, because I would want to, put things in place, like using an external streaming platform, and figuring out how I can annotate and share screens so you guys can see everything that I'm doing. So maybe we may have to make do with pre-recorded videos for the first 3 days. So this is day 1, maybe day 2 and day 3 will still be pre-recorded videos, and then from day 4 we go full what now? Full force. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye bye.